First focal plane reticle or second focal plane reticle? That's a very common question. The important thing to remember is with a second focal plane, the reticle always stays the same size. So when you get down in those lower magnifications, you have a huge field of view combined with an easily visible reticle, and it's fast and it's easy. It's great for hunters, law enforcement snipers, really benefit from that feature set. The trade-off with the second focal plane reticle is if you're not at max magnification and you want to hold off for wind, it can get a little bit complicated. First focal plane reticle has the advantage of, regardless of what magnification you're at, that reticle is always going to subtend correctly. So even if you're at 2/3 your max magnification, your reticle holes will be right for the wind. The downside is that at low magnification, that reticle gets a little bit hard to see. So it's kind of like you got to focus on what exactly do you want to use this scope for. Here's a couple of scenarios to help you with that decision-making process. This is a 5-25 scope set at 12.5 power. That reticle's in the second focal plane. So you'll see that piece of steel subtends at about 0.6 or 0.7 mil. Now when we crank it up to 25 power, now that piece of steel is at 1.3 mils. Doesn't mean you can't mill correctly with a second focal plane reticle. Just means there's going to be a little bit of math involved for you to know where to hold over or hold off for wind. This is a 5-25 scope at 12.5 power with the reticle in the first focal plane. You can see that at 12.5 power that reticle is a little bit hard to see, but that piece of steel subtends about 1.3 to 1.4 mils. Now we dial up to 25 power, and once again that steel remains at 1.3, 1.4 mils. So regardless if you're holding over or under or holding off for wind, the reticle is always going to be accurate. This is a 5-25 power scope set at about 7 magnification, second focal plane reticle, and this is where it shines. You can see we've got a massive field of view. The reticle is readily visible. However, that's a 6-inch piece of steel at 300 yards, so that's a 2 MOA target. Reticle's a little bit chunky, covers some of it up. Kind of hard to be super precise. Now we go up to 17, 18 power. Reticle's readily visible, target's visible, but if we have to have a very fine hold-off point for windage, we're not going to get it. This is where a first focal plane reticle struggles a little bit. This is a 5-25 scope, magnification set at 7 power. That reticle is visible, doesn't obscure too much of the target, but it's very fine and it can be a little bit difficult to see depending on the lighting conditions. Now once we dial up, this is at 17 power. This is the first focal plane reticle's strong point. 17, all those subtensions are still accurate, so if we got a little bit of wind, we got to hold off just a hair, we can totally do that too, no problems. So first focal really is the best at the higher ends of the magnification. I'd like to thank Nightforce for sponsoring this video and help us discuss some of the finer points of second focal versus first focal. If you'd like to know more about their products, you can go to www.nightforceoptics.com.